From crab-legging up a prison wall, to using bed sheets as a makeshift rope, to silently hiding within a trash container, criminals seem to find any clever way they can to escape custody. We're taking a look back at the year's most brazen escapes, beginning in the Lone Star State of Texas, where a now convicted killer attempted to flee police custody by first getting a bunch of plastic surgery to conceal her identity, then while in police custody, attempted to break free while at a doctor's appointment. Caitlyn Armstrong is no stranger to making headlines for her brazen attempts to evade capture. As you can see, she bolted at full speed while authorities try to catch up with her, while attempting to escape custody after a doctor's appointment. Then while cuffed, she attempted to hop a fence. Armstrong's escape efforts were short-lived and she was quickly apprehended. Armstrong was convicted this year for the first-degree murder in the 2022 fatal shooting of a professional cyclist, Anna Mariah Wilson, better known to loved ones as Mo. Wilson was just 25 years old when she was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds at the home of a friend in Austin, Texas. Investigators say Armstrong gunned down Wilson in a jealous rage after she was previously linked to Armstrong's long-term boyfriend, fellow cyclist Colin Strickland.
Detectives told you this was personal. Okay, this is from detectives at APD, and they explained the reasons. But you heard from the medical examiners. 2 shots to the head, 1 behind the ear, 1 in the face. And then another shot while the person was laying on the floor, through the chest, through the heart. Okay? Again, common sense and logic. If you're some unknown person who's not there for a personal reason, you just shot somebody twice in the head. Are you running? Are you getting the heck out of there? Are you taking additional time, crucial time for you to get away? 10 minutes. Thank you. To walk up to somebody on the floor, bloody, and put 1 more in, right in the heart. And by the way, nothing's taken from this apartment. Nothing's kicked over. Nothing's pushed down. Nothing's broken. Nothing's gone. Except for what turns out to be really, this is Mariah Wilson. Isn't it? Isn't that what the defendant sees here? That's Mariah Wilson. Mariah Wilson, the up-and-coming superstar cyclist, who my boyfriend is constantly talking to, who also is a superstar cyclist, and that I can never be. And that apparently that's something I will never be able to bridge, that connection between my boyfriend and this young 24-year-old up-and-coming superstar. This is Mariah Wilson. She knew that. She took the one thing that she hadn't done already. She already killed her. I'm taking this and I'm throwing out something. Just kind of an extra take that.
After Wilson's death, Armstrong used her sister's passport to flee the country to Costa Rica and got thousands of dollars of plastic surgery to change her appearance.
Why did she fly to Costa Rica? Why did she use her sister's passport? Why doesn't she use her own name? Why doesn't she use her own passport if this was just some innocent frolic to Costa Rica, because that's what I can do? Why does she use fake names when she's in Costa Rica? Why does she desperately start looking for plastic surgery in Costa Rica? Okay? Why? Allison Page, Ari Roberts, who knows what else there is? These are all indications of guilt, ladies and gentlemen. Can we forget the search for pineapple juice and what it does to your fingerprints? This is somebody that's trying to hide themselves. They fled the country under a false name and not their passport, get to another foreign country, use fake names, and change their appearance. This isn't somebody on a frolic. This is somebody who's a fugitive and desperately trying to get away with it.
Armstrong was captured by authorities more than a month after Wilson's death and later convicted by a Texas jury, where she was sentenced to 90 years in prison. Next, we head up north to Pennsylvania, where an inmate made a daring escape and eluded police during a massive 2-week manhunt. Danelo Cavalcante made national headlines after crab-legging up a prison yard wall. Here you can see him use his legs and arms to push himself up the wall. And officials say once he made it to the roof, he bypassed layers of razor wire to escape. The 34-year-old convicted killer was serving a life sentence for stabbing his ex-girlfriend to death in front of her 2 children.
We have considered him dangerous right from the very start. It changes nothing. We have always considered him to be a risk.
While on the run, Cavalcante changed his appearance. He shaved his face, ditched his prison clothes, and kept very busy while on the lam.
At approximately 8 p.m. last evening, a motorist reported seeing a male crouched near the wood line along the south side of Fairview Road, west of Route 100. The motorist turned her vehicle around in an effort to verify what she saw. As she drove back past, the individual was gone. We had a large number of troopers already in the area and utilized them to form a perimeter around that area. A Border Patrol tactical team was also in the immediate vicinity and went directly to the location of the sighting. They observed footprints in some mud which were identical to the prison shoes worn by Cavalcante. A track was initiated, and shortly thereafter, both of his prison shoes were located. Information was received from another resident in that immediate area that a pair of work boots had been stolen from a porch at her residence. The tracking of Cavalcante continued in a northerly direction, and at 10:10 p.m., a call was received from a resident on Coventryville Road indicating a short Hispanic male, no shirt, and wearing dark pants, had entered his garage while the homeowner was in it, and that he grabbed a .22 rifle that was leaning in the corner of the garage. The homeowner drew a pistol and fired at Cavalcante as he fled with the rifle. PSP responded and secured that scene. At that time, a green sweatshirt and white t-shirt believed to belong to Cavalcante were discovered near the edge of the driveway.
Cavalcante stole a transit van, burglarized homes in southeastern Pennsylvania, where he also stole a rifle, ammunition, clothes, a sleeping bag, plus more. During his escape, residents nearby were on edge, which led to school closures, as authorities urged everyone to lock their doors, with some residents even spotting Cavalcante while he evaded authorities. Cavalcante was eventually captured after 2 weeks on the run. He faces additional charges of theft, burglary, and others in connection to his alleged crimes while on the run. Next, we're in Georgia, where 4 inmates escaped, taking authorities on a manhunt that lasted more than a month. At the time, the Bibb County Sheriff's Office said the inmates escaped around 3 a.m. on October 16th. The 4 climbed through a broken day room window, snaking their way through a cut fence. Once they were outside, a blue Dodge Challenger pulled up to the jail and helped them make a break for it. The charges that landed the 4 in the Bibb County Jail were severe, ranging from drug trafficking to assault to murder. So who were these 4 inmates? 25-year-old Mark Carey Anderson was held behind bars for a 2020 aggravated assault. Officials say he allegedly fired into a person's car and 2 people's homes. Then there's 29-year-old Chavis Stokes, who was held on charges of possession of a firearm and drug trafficking, as well as other misdemeanor charges. Jennifer Barnwell was held in the Bibb County Jail on behalf of the U.S. Marshals after an October 2nd conviction by a federal jury on drug trafficking charges that carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Barnwell was awaiting sentencing when he and the other inmates broke out of jail. And lastly, 52-year-old Joey Fournier was behind bars on a murder charge stemming from 2022. Fournier is accused of strangling his ex-girlfriend with a shoelace, but since pleaded not guilty in that case. The inmates took investigators on a days-long manhunt. Chavis Stokes was the first inmate of the 4 to be captured 10 days after the daring escape. He was found in a home in Montezuma, Georgia, less than an hour away from the Bibb County Jail. Mark Carey Anderson was the second inmate to be captured on November 3rd. The 25-year-old was found in a luxury high-rise apartment in Atlanta. Then Jennifer Barnwell was apprehended on November 12th after being on the run for nearly a month. Barnwell was busted in a raid at a home in Augusta where police discovered an interesting and even incriminating surprise. Authorities say they found 64 pounds of fentanyl, 20 pounds of meth, 2.5 pounds of cocaine, 4 pounds of heroin, a pound of marijuana, and 3 guns. And after a month-long manhunt, the final inmate captured was 52-year-old Joey Fournier. Fournier was apprehended on November 18th outside a motel in Stockbridge, Georgia, about an hour away from the Bibb County Jail. Some of the 4 inmates managed to get help while on the outside, which resulted in a slew of charges for abetting in their escape. Janisha Green was arrested for aiding in Jonathan Barnwell's escape. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, a federal grand jury indicted her along with Barnwell. She faces a federal charge of aiding and abetting his escape, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. Jacorsha Smith was also arrested for aiding in Barnwell's escape while he was on the run. She remains behind bars in the Bibb County Jail. Meanwhile, Tamisha Timely was arrested for aiding Mark Carey Anderson's escape. Jacqueline Williams was arrested as authorities allege he stole the blue Dodge Challenger from a rental car company. The vehicle has since been recovered. Authorities believe Jacqueline Williams was the getaway driver who may have tampered with the jail fence, which allowed the inmates to escape. He was arrested alongside Makia Williams, who was arrested on October 23rd for aiding in the inmates' escape while they were on the run, but it's unclear in what capacity. Williams remains behind bars in the Bibb County Jail, charged with aiding an escape and hindering. But get this, during a strange turn while the inmates were on the run, Makia Williams' boyfriend Christian Williams shot himself when police were executing the raid. At the time, Christian Williams himself was on the lam from authorities for months, just before he was set to go on trial for the 2021 death of a man at a Macon convenience store. When the U.S. Marshals received a tip, they learned Williams was inside the home along with Makia Williams. When marshals attempted to enter the home, a gunshot rang out, as authorities say Christian Williams fired at the marshals. Once inside the home, they were alerted that Williams shot himself. He later died at a Georgia hospital. As for the escaped inmates, all are facing additional charges for their escape. Anderson, Fournier, and Stokes are back behind bars in the Bibb County Jail. For Barnwell, an already convicted felon facing federal charges, a judge ordered he remain in federal custody without bond. Next, we're in Pennsylvania, where an Army veteran and a self-taught survivalist evaded police capture for several days after he busted out of jail using a rope made from bed sheets. 34-year-old Michael Charles Burham escaped from a Pennsylvania prison on July 7th. According to authorities, Burham used a seemingly clever way to break out of the prison walls. He climbed on top of the prison's recreation yard by elevating himself on top of exercise equipment to reach the metal roof before lowering himself to the ground using bed sheets tied together. After escaping, he snuck into the night in a denim jacket with his prison jumpsuit underneath. Burham was considered a dangerous inmate on the loose, not just for his survivalist skills, but for the violent charges which had him locked up in the first place. Burham was held on arson and burglary charges, a suspect in a rape and homicide investigation out of New York, and associated with the kidnapping of an elderly couple in Pennsylvania, where he is alleged to have used their car to drive to Charleston, South Carolina. Authorities were able to capture Burham after 9 days on the run, thanks to a barking pooch who raised suspicion to their owner. He didn't make it too far from the Warren County Jail. Burham was located in a town less than 7 miles away from the jail where he escaped. When a barking Labrador alerted his owner, he went outside to check what was going on, and there was Burham in his backyard. The homeowner even had a conversation with Burham, explaining to the owner he was just on a camping trip. The homeowner recognized the wanted face, and when Burham returned to the woods nearby, he was later brought back out in cuffs and taken to jail, just not to the same jail where he escaped from. And finally, we end in Ohio, where a convicted murderer escaped from prison walls by concealing himself inside a trash compactor. Bradley Gillespie was reported missing on May 23rd from the Allen Oakwood Correctional Institution in Lima, Ohio. He had been behind those prison walls since 2016, convicted of double homicide. And Gillespie wasn't alone when he broke out of prison. 47-year-old Jason Lee also escaped alongside Gillespie. Lee was locked up since 2021 for burglary and safe cracking. It didn't take Lee a long time to be found. He was captured a day after his escape in Henderson, Kentucky, about 350 miles southwest of Lima, after a police pursuit in a stolen car with Gillespie, which ended in a crash. Lee was arrested at the scene, however, Gillespie avoided capture, and in a twisted turn, authorities were never able to rearrest Gillespie. A local boater discovered his body in a river less than a week after the two escaped prison. Gillespie's autopsy confirmed he died from drowning. That wraps the year's top jaw-dropping prison and jail escapes. And you can always stick with Law&Crime Network for the latest news and developments in all things true crime. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Elizabeth Millner.